Okay, hello, how are you? I don't know exactly when this will get posted. Most likely it'll be August by the time this gets posted. The last video I recorded kind of ended prematurely because I got a phone call. And I answered it because it was a synchronicity. It was literally, that was a crazy synchronicity, low-key. Because it was at 4:44 p.m. That's when I got the phone call. And it was also from the Kia dealership. And you probably don't know, because why would you know? But Kia is like my spirit car. Like, same with Volkswagen. Like, if I see a Kia or a Volkswagen and I'm asking a question or I'm wondering about something, that's like my confirmation. So it was a huge synchronicity, low key. Anyways, today's been an interesting day for sure. On the last video, I was talking about power and hierarchy and the ways in which humans incorrectly wield power, you know? And maybe I'll just continue on that, because it really does irritate me. Like, so many people in power, like, even just looking at America and looking at the presidency and the way that's gone, like, I don't know. Also, we're not going to talk about the semantics of, like, or the details of, like, how a felon could become president but can't vote for president. That doesn't make any fucking sense. I think, honestly, anybody who is striving towards fame or power or status needs to really check themselves and really question why they want those things. Because I think for a lot of people, people who want those things, it's like a vehicle for, like, tragedy. You know, when you think of a lot of infamous people and how that happened, it's like visibility can be dangerous. I'm not going to say it is dangerous, but it can be dangerous, especially when you don't really know yourself like that, especially when you don't truly have a clear understanding of yourself, you know? Like, you have to know thyself if you want to share yourself, you know? I mean, you don't have to, but it helps majorly, you know? Also, I think I do a really good job, way too good of a job sometimes, of, like, not hiding, but I'm going to say hiding my issues. It's the 18th of March as I'm recording this, and yesterday was a really weird day, I'll say, to say it lightly. And I don't know, there's a lot going on, like, in the world, but also personally. And I try not to forget, you know, there is a whole world out there outside of what I'm going through, you know? Because I think sometimes we get so caught up in our own issues, so caught up in our own problems, we forget that, like, you know. And I think the reason why it is important to remember is because it gives you the ability to connect better with others when you don't get consumed with the idea that you're the only one suffering and you're the only one who's ever suffered, because you're not. There's always suffering, unfortunately. And it's really a matter of what you do with that matters most. Like, are you just gonna tuck it away and, like, pretend like it never happened, or are you gonna, like, share it with somebody so that it could potentially help them, you know what I mean? I have videos scheduled out until August. However, I don't know what April's gonna look like for me. I don't know what that's gonna be like. Maybe it'll be the same, but I don't think it is, you know? There's definitely a shift happening for a lot of us. Partially the faces that I'm making, that you see me making, is me emotionally reacting, I guess, to, like, the things that I'm thinking about. Because I'm thinking about, like, once again, the ways in which people are, like, misguided and misled, you know? And, like, to some degree, some people choose that. Some people are okay with it. They're like, I don't care if I'm being lied to. I just want to feel good. I just want to be happy. But, like, I don't know, man. Because at some point you get to see how that affects the collective and how that affects other people outside of the person doing the damage. you know, and it's just like, no. No. Awareness is key. Self-awareness is even more of a key to success. Like, you really got to understand yourself. You really got to know yourself, you know? Because I'm telling you, there's nothing that anybody on this planet could tell me that I don't already know about myself. And if somebody did tell me something that I didn't know about myself, I would definitely be open to listening. But, you know, because I've taken the time to understand myself and to know myself, you know? And even still, sometimes I'm confused by, well, let me not say confused, but perplexed, I guess, baffled, intrigued, annoyed, if we want a negative connotation. Yeah, we live in a crazy world, for sure. And obviously, you shouldn't let it get you down, but sometimes you do get into that energy. Sometimes you do start to feeling sad for other people, bad for other people. Also, you know that phrase, feel bad for? Like when people say, don't feel bad for me, or you should feel bad for me, or whatever. I think that's such a weird phrase, because if you really objectively look at the words of that phrase, it's like, you want me to feel negatively for you? What? Like, the sentiment is that I want you to have some sort of sympathy for me or empathy for me. But once again, the literal words of what is being said is like, I want you to feel poorly on my behalf. Like, I was thinking about that the other day, and I was like, that's such a crazy thing that people say. Like, you should feel bad. Like, what? No one should feel bad. Maybe bad people should feel bad, but, you know? And I think a reason why a lot of people do feel bad, if I could say this, is because they do try so hardly to escape the bad feelings, you know? And that's, to somebody who's doing that, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't compute. But the truth of it is, sometimes you have to go through uncomfortable feelings. Sometimes you do have to go through sadness. Sometimes you have to go through negative emotions. It's just the truth of it. It doesn't mean you have to sit there. It doesn't mean you have to stay there. But sometimes that is just life. Sometimes there are negative feelings flowing through us. And, you know, the more you resist, the more the feeling might persist, you know? Sounds catchy, but, you know, the more you resist, the more it persists. Unfortunately, a lot of times, not all the time. I think there's nuance with that sentiment, but generally, when you try to like avoid something so harshly that wants to happen, that life is begging to happen, it just creates more issues, you know? Once again, to anybody who's actively in that energy, like, that's not going to make sense. So if that doesn't make sense, I'm sorry. Thanks for watching. But yeah. And I don't know if it was because I smoked. I don't know what happened, but I definitely got into a lower energy with this video. Like, I definitely, you know, I don't know where that came from, but anyways, I'm gonna end this here. This is gonna be a shorter video. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye.